We are on the lunch break in the questioning of Colin Black, the former commander of Special Branch from 1998 until 2005. He has been a very frustrating witness. He has claimed not to remember almost everything that he's been asked. It is the big takeaways, I would say, is that he believes that it was all justified, that the deployment of undercover officers to collect intelligence for Special Branch, it should be a given, that the Special Branch has a right to know everything about everyone, and that there's no reason for anybody to complain about that because it was all staying in Special Branch. I'm joined today with Liv and Mim from Nervo, who are superstar DJs and have been following the inquiry recently, and also Kate Wilson. What have you made of what you've heard?
Oh, look, we're surprised, but then we're not surprised. We're disgusted. We see so many similarities in obviously what happened to you ladies and Liv, and even the defense. What it's there's similarities everywhere. So that's why we are focused on trying to change the law.
We're so interested in the loopholes in the law that allow this sort of behaviour to go
unchecked.
Yeah, and yeah. We're sorry for everything you've been through, and we're so inspired by your fight.
Yes.
By this is what it takes.
Unfortunately,
to spread some awareness so we can get some better legislation.
Do you want to give just some background of what's happened to you?
I was in a relationship for a few years with a man who deceived me the entire time. He had other families in other countries, and we ended up. He reproductively coerced me. We ended up having a child, and I discovered all of this at around 6.5 months pregnant. So I sort of went on with my daily life like it was really difficult, and that was almost 7.5 years ago, 8 years ago now almost.
And we've been on a journey to kind of find out how this behaviour is legal. We just couldn't believe there are no legal protections.
My perpetrator was not a policeman. Not an undercover policeman, but there were so many similarities in
the grooming, manipulation,
and the amount of people who knew, who were involved, who enabled it, and the consequences are just huge.
I mean, I think there's a real overlap when, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is about the political policing, the arrogance of Special Branch, and what we've seen today. And we haven't got on to talking about the relationships yet, but you will be asked about the relationships this afternoon. And then alongside that, and running through all that, you have the misogyny and the arrogance of powerful men.
Entitlement.
That sense of entitlement and deceiving people I mean, I think it's really, there's that kind of added element in here, in that, the officers that were deceiving us were working for these men that we're listening to now.
Or maybe using their job as an excuse. Whereas what happened to Liv, he can't use his job as an excuse. So I'm equally so disgusted that they're trying to, and hide behind their job.
And we not first heard about you guys, but you guys sort of shone the light onto all the work that CLR and Network are doing
around trying to
reform laws around sexual deception. And that's super fascinating for us, because we just really do need laws, because without it, there's just no deterrent.
There's something which the category H, which is the women who were deceived in sexual relationships at the inquiry, the class as the category H co-participants. The barrister for them, Charlotte Kilroy, presented this idea of the dark playground, that these men were given a license to go into a world and act out their desires, and it manifests itself in a lot of different ways. On the sort of the lowest level, these men kind of being able to do the jobs and hobbies that they always wanted to do, but they were police officers, they couldn't. And that involved being DJs and being in bands, and also like getting jobs in TV and stuff as part of their cover role. But it included an incredibly large amount of sexual abuse, which appears to be a mixture of perk of the job, an addition to their enhancing their cover, and also a way of getting further intelligence. But another element of it is this sort of like this sort of nursing of this sort of pastoral care didn't exist for the officers from their superiors, so they found it in the women who they deceived. But a lot of this goes to the heart of like something that's very dark about men and the way that heterosexual men use women and have an entitlement to women, which goes far beyond the political policing which we're looking at here, really.
Yeah, exactly. What
Yeah.
is it?
I mean, and I also think that, you know, on the one hand, you've got the men who were in the dark playground, and you know, we've heard some really quite disturbing evidence from different men who deceived women in this way. And on the other hand, you've got what we're hearing now, which is the men who were actually serving police officers who are, you know,
Meant to be respected and safe.
but
You're meant to
also,
be safe.
you know, they're not undercover, these officers. They are police officers who don't have the excuse that they may have forgotten that they were police officers. You know, Colin Black and HN53 and HN58, they were all police officers every day. They went to the office and they were the ones supervising all of this. And that's where I think you get to the institutional misogyny.
The group, everyone in on
and
it.
the lack of concern for the victim's welfare.
And also when a child is involved as well, it's generational. This it's just disgusting. That's why after this we're going together to Parliament. And we've been to Parliament before, and Natalie Fleet did it, the first ever Westminster debate on reproductive coercion. So this afternoon we have a meeting with Jess Phillips, and we're just hoping that, we have a lot of MPs that want to support our cause in
Sex by deception,
reforming the statute.
Legislation. Yeah.
Reproductive coercion has been in the statute for 10 years, but at the moment it's hidden under coercive and controlling behaviour. So it is a criminal offence, but you can't get to it. You have to go via another law, which is near impossible to get to. So that's where we're really trying to reform.
Yeah, it's one thing that we've really seen today, I think, and I think it goes to the heart of a lot of it, is this lack of respect for the law. I mean, we saw the complete contempt that the current witness has got for this process. He doesn't he's a police officer. He doesn't respect the law. He doesn't respect the legal instrument that he's currently under a part of. But that reflects how he behaved when he was in his role.
Correct.
He didn't have any respect for the law then, and none of them do. I mean,
He was so arrogant while he was being questioned.
I mean, he was rude to Barr. He was rude to Mitten.
yeah. We don't see that very often. We really don't see that.
Really?
Generally, you know, they
hold
might
it
talk.
together.
They might talk back to the barrister. They particularly tend to talk back to the barrister when they're being questioned by a woman.
Very much.
Really?
Oh my God,
But
yes.
when
Really?
Mitten intervenes, there is usually a complete change of demeanour.
Yes.
And
It's performing.
Yeah.
This guy's performance was.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, essentially everything that's happening is for the benefit of the chair, and the questions that are being asked are essentially for the chair. So the answers are meant to be directed at the chair. Yeah, people seem to forget that, and they kind of get sometimes into an argument with the barrister. But then when the chair intervenes, they sort of change it. They go, "Oh well, sir, if you are asking, you know, we're not realizing the whole thing was him anyway, really." But I mean, I think it's a class issue. I think that essentially Colin Black is suitably, posh enough that he doesn't consider Sir John Nitting.
He thinks he's above everyone.
Yes,
and that is
literally.
clear from him being on the stand. He has no humility. No, he's just, it's just awful to witness. I'm sorry.
Well, but I actually quite appreciate the
Sure.
arrogant witnesses. Because
Yes, at least they're showing themselves.
exactly.
At least it's not further deception.
Yeah.
He feels like he's not answering the questions, and a lot of his answers are, I don't know, I can't help you, I don't remember, more so than is reasonable or credible, given that we're talking about stuff that only happened 20 years ago.
He claimed not to know the outcome of the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, which is one of the which was a finding of institutional racism. One of the biggest things that's ever happened to British policing in my lifetime.
Yes.
The idea that a senior police officer was not immediately aware of that, with it being mentioned, is a ridiculous assertion.
He made a complete muppet
Yeah.
by saying that. But what he also does is he gives a real insight into how these men think. And we saw it with
The mentality.
Mark Jenner.
Yes.
When he was surly and angry and aggressive and arrogant, and you were like, yep, that's how Great British Police Force. And I feel that a bit about Colin Black as well.
Yes.
Some of the entitlement of special branch is really coming across.
I was shocked how the barrister had to say, I'm asking the questions, you have to answer them. And when the officer, he said, now is not the time and place for this. I was like, wow.
When is the time?
Well, quite. And I think there's also a genuine belief by them that this was never meant to come out. All of this is meant to be secret. And there's a sense that this is an absolute disgrace. How dare this be in public? A lot of the officers talked about the betrayal, the fact that the inquiry is taking place. I mean, there was an apology from the Met's commissioner about various aspects of the deployments. And some officers have expressed real anger. How dare he do this? How dare he apologize? Right, very much. Yes, very much.
The real victim.
Yeah.
And there was a moment today when he was being asked about briefing the police officers who were dealing with the Lawrence inquiry. And I mean, it should be remembered that this inquiry is happening because the Ellison inquiry, which was the inquiry set up to look into corruption by the Metropolitan Police in dealing with the first inquiry, discovered right at the end, when it had already finished hearing the evidence, that the Metropolitan Police had not disclosed that they had spies in the Lawrence family camp, was essentially the drop that overflowed the bucket and led to this inquiry being called. And he's shown documents about SDS Special Branch briefing Richard Morton, who was in charge of the police dealings with the Lawrence inquiry at the time, back in the 90s. And it says, we shouldn't be giving him anything on paper. And he was asked about that. And his response, I nearly laughed out loud, because his response was like, well, clearly we did put stuff on paper because I'm being asked about it. And there was this kind of sense of him sitting there thinking, we should have done that bloody order in the first place.
Very much, wasn't it? It was just that sense that, if only we kept to the old school ways. And we see this a lot, that, so much of the briefings of these officers was done off the record, just orally. And we see little creeps in where it's accidentally things have been added to paper. And you can, when they're kind of questioned on that, you can see the wide eyes of oh, that should never have been written down.
Where's that evidence? And then he had to show it. And it was it was given in this case here and there.
There's a very powerful example of that in the evidence from my case, where they talked about how there was never any discussion, any record, anything that said that about sexual relationships. It was, you go through all of the papers, and it is true, there is no smoking gun, but there is one handwritten comment on a policy decision by a commander who's known in this inquiry as EN 107. She's a woman, and she handwrote on one of her policy decisions about a woman activist going to stay at the cover flat of Mark Kennedy. Officer has been orally briefed health and safety intimate relationships.
There it is.
And it was like
black and white.
There it is. That was an oral briefing. That should never have been written down. And she hasn't given real evidence about it yet, but she has said, oh, that was just getting them to sign the code of conduct for undercover officers, which talks about many things. It talks about not being an agent provocateur, not participating in crime. It does not mention sexual relationships anywhere.
Yeah, we always say, even with Liv's case, had she not had this covert recording, no one would believe her, because he would just keep saying, that she's lying about it.
Round and round, the he said, she said. And these sort of nuggets of evidence are so important.
So important.
Because they'll do anything to discredit you.
Anything.
And you're crazy, you're extremist, you're the extremists, remember? Even that sort of narrative that
I think
this is a defense. Wild.
I think for us, a lot of this process, because the discovery of the undercover officers kind of started in 2010, and there was a lot of legal action that was kind of started off by a number of people, including ourselves, and it took until 2013, 2014 before the police said anything other than we can neither confirm nor deny. Is there the problem? Technical problems abound, I'm afraid.
Someone's suggesting we ask you, as you probably know about sound.
Which one is the problem?
Technicians.
Yeah. Which one is the problem? We'll just use one mic if there's. Yeah. Tell us which mic. But yeah, it took so long for us to kind of get the narrative onto actually the detail of things, right? Literally some acknowledgement of it, and that took an incredibly long time. And I think for a lot of us, that's mattered more than anything else.
Yeah.
Is just kind of the fact of what actually happened. Yeah, that's accepted now, because for a long time it was like, oh well, who can say? Yeah, literally. Yeah, we have had some comments. Just aside from the microphone, let's have a look. What I just caught the last few minutes before the lunch break. Is it fair to say Barr seems outwardly annoyed by Black? I would say it's probably the most annoyed I've seen Barr with a witness.
I mean,
Barr does it. It's kind of unflappable.
Incredibly unflappable.
Yeah.
And but honestly, he's taking a lot of shit.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, he is remaining polite in the face of a man who is being very obviously contemptuous and rude.
And obstinate.
And also he's time wasting. He keeps saying, "Can you read that again? Can you show me that again? Can you show me the front question?"
It's important.
Which I wouldn't have an issue with if he then gave a reasonable answer to the question. But after doing all of that, he'll just say, "Oh, I can't help you with that," or "I can't remember," or "I don't know."
Does it not shoot you back to sort of the times when you were asking questions? I don't know, the deflection, when you're suddenly aware of people deflecting and deceiving you. For me, I find it really triggering, trying to see somebody get an answer and then see their response, sort of trying to confuse things more. I don't know if you've had years.
I was very lucky in the sense that Mark and I separated 5 years before he was uncovered. So
yes.
I think there are definitely women who would recognise that experience. I was spared that.
That's a hard one for me, and I think other people who have been through anything sort of similar, being continued to be manipulated is really a hard pill to swallow. It's something in front of us on a corporate government level. It's wild.
Yeah.
Another question from Pat from Veggies. Is it usual for the witness to try and guide the barrister by, for example, by saying that he will respond to a topic when it is raised later? Also, occasionally he tries to avoid answers by putting the question back to Barr. I'm sorry, Mr. Black, but I have to ask the questions. Yeah, it is very unusual. And I think it really kind of comes down to that sort of that class entitlement, actually. I mean, I think really...
I think there is also an element. I don't know whether Black is also giving evidence in closed.
Almost certainly.
Some of the stuff that... So he's made some points about will we be talking about national security? And kind of, I think there is an element to which he's kind of essentially making veiled threats.
Yes.
Or saying, I'm not answering that question, I'll answer it in closed.
Yeah. Regular watchers may remember Trevor Morris when he gave evidence, who kept blowing up the stream by just blurting out things which he knew would cause the broadcast to be suspended. Wow. Meaning that if you were trying to follow at home, it was almost impossible. And it was going into those areas which we're not allowed to talk about. I can't even tell you what we're not allowed to talk about. Yeah. But almost certainly Black will be back for the closed hearings. For all we know, the closed hearings are much more plentiful, much longer, much more of them, much more witnesses than happen in open. We simply don't know. But certainly there are huge gaps in the number of officers. We have a number of officers who are just not being referred to, just as closed officers. And there are closed areas of topics of infiltration, but also aspects of each of the infiltrations which are not being dealt with at all. At the end of the day yesterday, we had an examination of an application for billing records of Alison, who was deceived into a sexual relationship by Mark Jenner, who was cohabiting with her for 4 or 5 years. And the application for that, which made out she was some enormous security threat, which was a ridiculous assertion. The question was put to him, but it was, you can give the answer in closed. And it's like, well, this is clearly not a closed topic, yet there are things being done in the closed session which could clearly be done in open, but for whatever reason are happening in closed because of reasons of time and cost, I'm sure is what they'll argue. But the reality is so much more is being kept secret than it really should be.
It's done on purpose. You know, they know what they're going to say today versus in a closed hearing. It's like the family courts. The family courts, you're really gagged from speaking about a lot of things publicly.
Afterwards.
And
under the guise of privacy for often children, but really it's
to protect
weaponized
reputation.
to protect reputations. And
Yeah.
a lot of people and perpetrators know that. And I
Yes,
feel like,
and the legal teams know that as well.
yeah, and I feel like this system isn't too different.
Nope.
They know how to sort of hide details. And,
I mean, there's a deep irony in the fact that so many officers have been granted anonymity on the basis of privacy and reputational damage, but particularly privacy and right to private and family life, which I find so outrageous given what they did.
Yes.
Why they're here.
Yeah.
The sexual assault.
Yeah.
The harm.
Yeah.
Didn't you have a right to private and family life?
Yeah.
I was a violent anarchist in 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, I was.
You're lucky you can laugh about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think I'm there yet.
yeah. I mean, we have. It has been commented on that we have a bit of a dark humor about it sometimes, but
You guys are
I mean,
amazing.
like, we're 16 years into this now, and like at some point you've got to have a gallows humor, otherwise you go completely mad.
Correct.
I mean, I might have done both, but you know.
Yeah, no, and I have to say that it is the humour, and I mean particularly the humour of the affected women that gets you through.
Yes. Yeah.
I found it really emotional coming. It's the first time I've ever been to anything like this. And I'm just like, when we were waiting this morning to meet you out the front, I was like, really been very emotional. Just thinking, I'm so glad and grateful that this is happening. That the public actually you got really quiet. But it's just, the fact it goes on and on and on.
Yeah. And
And,
I think because there's so much detail of it as well. I mean, like you'll notice there's no media here today, and that's
why
the.
is that?
I mean, I think just simply because it was a sex scandal story when it first came out.
Right.
Occasionally, things like the Stephen Lawrence stuff come up, and that kind of gets picked up on the headlines. When Doreen Lawrence, the mother of Stephen Lawrence, appeared at the inquiry, that was on the national news, on all the broadcasts. But for the most part, it's too much detail. There's too much context to be given. So you're left just with activists making videos like I do to cover events. Otherwise, there is a danger that it just passes everybody by, and these, you know, it happens in the dark, even though it is in public technically. You know.
Well, hopefully we can help with that. Hopefully we can meet with them to
Join forces. We need to join forces.
get them to shine a light on, you know, how the intersection between sexual coercion and reproductive coercion and the consequences and because already I've noticed in the little bit of media that has come our way, they have limits our case to your case to how to spike up. So, you know, hopefully that can be a new way or something.
It is. I mean, it was quite a long time ago now, and I wonder what would happen if it was revisited
Now,
today.
yes.
But the Crown Prosecution Service twice refused to prosecute these officers for sexual offences.
Yes.
On the basis that they would have had the defence that they're just doing their job.
And genuine feelings.
And on the basis that they
Yeah.
have genuine feelings. And
Which
it's
is so offensive.
What their own
Isn't it?
feelings, not the feelings for the
Right.
victims.
Yeah.
Because they loved you so much they forgot to tell you.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, no, they loved you so much that they were okay with abusing you.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the genuine feelings thing is such a long and complicated conversation. But, I mean, and it's one that I think even today, I mean, it came up mitting, very worrying. Put it to Helen Steele when she was giving evidence, you know, and particularly worrying in the case of Helen Steele because John Dines, the officer that deceived her, has shown himself to be absolutely like sadistic,
Completely.
like really cruel and cynical and cold and emotionless about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Mitting said to her, you know, I'd like you to reflect
Yeah.
and tell me what you think about the
harm.
possibility. No, about the possibility that these men have genuine feelings.
Oh wow.
And we were gobsmacked. I mean, like
Giving them the space
I mean,
explain.
yeah, I mean, thankfully, Helen wasn't gobsmacked. She said, I don't need to reflect. I've been reflecting on this for 30 years. I'll tell you right now, you do not deceive someone you love. This is not love. This is, you know, and abuse. Yeah. And really, I think took to task the chair, who then had to apologize essentially to her, saying that he didn't mean that at the following hearing.
We had a very interesting conversation with a court professional just about how language has evolved. And, 10 years ago when coercive control was introduced, well, it was actually introduced many, many years before. But
it was finally in the statute.
Yeah, it was ignored, basically. Even though the words were there, you were sort of laughed out of court for bringing it up. 10 years before that, it was anxiety.
And depression.
So I feel like we're hopefully at a crossroads now where sex by deception
and reproductive coercion.
And reproductive coercion. Hopefully they get the spotlight they deserve.
And will be named, at least named.
So we can protect against them. And we don't get these sort of questions like, will you consider that he actually loved you? Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things that I think is so important, and it's how these changes happen, and it's why it's really great that you did come today. And
thank you.
Thank you for coming.
So much for coming.
Please,
Is talking about it.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where
and there's so much shame.
And there's such personal relationships that you kind of feel like it's your fault, it's your responsibility, or it's just your private thing.
Yeah.
And it's only by having these conversations that you notice the patterns and the similarities and the systemic nature of
it's all patterns. And I hate this sort of narrative of how stupid was she for not really figuring it out, or did she not get that and that? The holes that people try and
or what about
open up.
In one of Liv's judgments, it's public, 2 judges used the word bitter to describe her abuse or her bitterness. It's written there in the public judgment. And we're in 2026. It's just what we have to speak about it. We have to give it the verbiage that it deserves.
I mean, it's a whole other topic, but it's not just about the men that did this, or in our case, the police officers that supervised them. It's actually also about the court systems and even the inquiry. Like institutional sexism goes a long way.
Definitely.
So,
I've just said Colin Black will be back fairly soon. We need to have our lunch, but thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The hearing will start at 2:00. The broadcast will start about 2:15. Please tune in if you can. We'll do another reaction video during the break and at the end of the day. Thank you to everyone who's liked and shared these videos. Makes a huge difference.
Follow Tom to get more information about what's going on in this inquiry. It's complex, it's detailed, and it's so important.
It is.
And if he doesn't get back to you, don't worry, because he's a busy man.
Yes.
Cheers for now. Bye.